Well, welcome back once again to the 7 Steps of the Scientific Method and your 5th grade science fair project. Today I know a lot of people, after talking in last class, a lot of people are excited about their experiments. Some people have probably started their experiments, that's okay. But for those who haven't and those who have, I want to talk about how we're going to set those up, and that's what we're going to be doing in our next class. When you come in, you're going to get what's called a design diagram, and as you can see on this slide, John talks with his teacher and she gives him an experimental design diagram to help him set up his investigation. The design diagram is kind of like an outline, so as you look at it here, you'll see it's like an outline like you would do for writing or something like that. You put your ideas down, and then when you put your project together, in this case, whether it's doing your experiment or after you're done with your experiment, you can use this to kind of help put your display board together. So you'll see in here that we have a couple different things. One, on the top we have our title, and in that title you can see that we have the effect of, you can see the effect right there of something on something else. And that's going to be the title that you're going to use for your experiment. So in John's case, it might be the effect of sugar on how high the bread rises, or the amount of bread that's made. And you can see over here we have an independent variable. That's your independent variable. Remember, we talked earlier about what that is, the thing that changes. Your dependent is the results. So the effect of sugar, which is your effect or your independent variable, on the rising of the bread, which we talked about earlier was the dependent variable in John's case. Then the next thing is your hypothesis that you're going to fill out, and you can see it's right there. And again, there's those two words, if and then, and we talked about how we need to have those in our hypothesis, so we're kind of writing our hypothesis down right here. So we're talking about our independent variable, so you look up on top and you look right here, and you should have your independent variable written. You're just going to copy that right down into this spot. So then you're going to take your dependent variable, which is right here, should be written in that area, and you're going to just recopy it right down here into that area. So you can see you have if, and up on top we had the amount of sugar, and in this case we have to add a little bit to it. So if the amount of sugar is increased, then our dependent variable was that the bread rises, then the bread should rise higher, or there should be more bread. That was his kind of guess. So then what we're going to do is, again, we're going to take our independent variable and we're going to put it right down here, because we want to know what that independent variable is. So a lot of this is just copy and pasting, moving things down and stuff like that. You can also see that if you look down a little bit further, there's one more place to put that dependent variable, and that's going to be right down here. So you can see that the dependent variable has been written now 3 different times. It's been changed a little bit in them, but 3 different times it's been there. So we're going to look down here to the levels. I want everybody to come to here, if you can see here, the levels of, we'll make it a little bit bigger there, the levels of your independent variables. And that's, how are you going to change it? What are the different changes that you're going to do? So in John's case, level 1, right here, I can actually put it there. Level 1 is his control, and we talked about what a control was. That's either the no test or the experimenter's choice. Level 2 would be maybe how much he increased that sugar. Level 3 might be how much he increased, how much more he increased it. And level 4 might be the maximum that he increased that sugar level. Number of trials, we talked about that way back in a few videos before. That's always going to be 3. Because we're going to do 3 different tests for each one. And if we do 3 and our results are the same for each, that's a pretty good test, and we know that our results are going to be pretty standard for that experiment. So if you're going to be doing this, and maybe you're doing the strength of paper towels, your control right here might be the paper towel that your family normally buys. Level 2 might be maybe a less expensive type of paper towel. Level 3 right here might be a more expensive paper towel than what your family normally buys. And level 4 might be the most expensive paper towel. So that's another way to do that. But again, our number of trials are always going to be the same. Then we're going down to that next part, which is that dependent variable. And as you look there, you'll see there's one more thing there, and that's how it is measured. So you can see here it's talking about how it's measured. So in this line also, I would like you to write, how are you going to measure this? So for John's experiment, he's probably going to measure the mass of the bread, okay, or the volume of the bread, how much the bread takes up. So that's how he's going to measure it. Yours might be a measure of length. Did something go far? Did it not go far? It might be weight. Did something weigh more than something else? So you need to come up with how you're going to measure your experiment as well. And then the last thing is the constants. Now, I have 4 items written here. You can see we're right here at constants. I have 4 written down. That doesn't mean that you only need 4 constants. You might have 15 constants, 20 constants, 100, well, maybe not 100 constants, but you might have a lot of them. In John's case, he's got a lot. He's got more than 4 because he's got a baking pan, he's got an oven, he's got the temperature that he's going to be keeping the same. He's got the time that he's baking going to be the same. There's 4 right there. And we haven't even talked about the ingredients that are going into and the amount of ingredients that he's going to be putting in to make his bread. So he's got lots of constants that he can use. So again, with yours, you need to think of all of those things that you use in your experiment that need to stay the same. Okay, so I hope you have some idea of your design diagram. We'll be getting the sheet, like I said, when you come back to class the next time, and we'll be going through this as our groups and as a whole class and talking about those. If you have questions, make sure you come in and answer or ask them, and I will do the best to answer what you have. We'll see you in class.